Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to you all. May I request you all to kindly take your seats. We are now joined by Ambassador of India, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla. Honorable Ambassador of India, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla. Honorable Senator Todd Young of Indiana. Friends of India, members of the Sikh American community, our partner organizations and gurdwaras, members of congressional staff from the House and Senate, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Embassy of India, a very warm welcome to you all. Satgur Nanak Pargatya, Miti Tund Jag Chanan Hua. ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਦੇ 550 ਸਾਲਾ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਸ਼ ਉਤਸਵ ਦੀਆਂ ਲੱਖ ਲੱਖ ਵਧਾਈਆਂ। Wishing you all a very happy 550th Gurpurab of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. May his message of Kirat Karo, Naam Japo, Tevan Chako, that is live an honest life of hard work, remember God at all times, and share your earnings with your fellow human beings, inspire and guide all our actions and thoughts. To commemorate this historic occasion, we have organized a program today that brings together eminent personalities from different parts of the United States to talk about the life and philosophy of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji and its continued relevance today, and the contributions of Sikh Americans in the United States. We are very grateful to all of our speakers for taking out their precious time to join us today on this historic and auspicious occasion. I would also like to read an excerpt from a letter received from the Attorney General of the state of New Jersey, Gurpreet Grewal, who could not be here but sends his Gurpurab greetings and best wishes for today's event. He writes, I believe now more than ever, we need to raise awareness of the Sikh faith and the contributions that Sikhs have made to society. We also need to address how our teachings remain relevant in the modern era. When I reflect on my upbringing, I am always drawn to the words in the Ardas, Sarbat Dapala, may everyone prosper. It is a sentiment that I try to uphold in my work each and every day, and it is a sentiment that remains just as relevant today. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have for you on display a touring exhibition on the life and philosophy of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji received from Birmingham. This has been exhibited in various parts of the United Kingdom and also in the European Parliament. Please do take this opportunity to browse through these informative and aesthetically pleasing panels. Now, without further ado, I request Ambassador of India to the United States, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla, to kindly deliver the opening remarks.
Sat Sri Akal and good afternoon. Today is a very important day. On this day, which is the day of Guru Purab, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji was born exactly 550 years ago. And I take this opportunity to extend very, very warm greetings on this occasion to all of our friends who are here. I see in particular Senator Todd Young of Indiana, and of course Mayor Sidhu of Anai, and all of our scholars, academics, very prominent members of the Sikh American community, Indian community who are here. Wish you a very, very warm welcome on this occasion. Just as the dawn of his birth had rid the world of darkness of ignorance and social ills, may this day bring light, peace and happiness to all our lives. This is also a historic day, as the ardas of prayer of millions of Sikhs across the globe of being reunited with the Gurdwara Kartarpur Sahib has been answered. As you are aware, on the 9th of November, Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji inaugurated the integrated checkpost of Kartarpur Sahib corridor that has enabled thousands of Sikh pilgrims to pay obeisance at the Gurdwara without any visa requirements. Prime Minister Modi said in his remarks on the occasion, Guru Nanak Dev Ji belongs not just to the Sikh heritage or the heritage of India, but is a source of inspiration for the whole of humanity. Guru Nanak Dev Ji is not only the founder, guru of Sikhism, but represents an idea, a way of life. Prime Minister also recalled how Guru Nanak Dev Ji had emphasized the importance of water as the primary source of life in all of creation. Today, as we grapple with the consequences of wasteful exploitation of nature and natural resources, his words exhort us to return to the values of conservation. The Government of India has taken several actions to commemorate the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. We are very happy, of course, that on this particular day we have at the Capitol Hill such an important event that involves not only a discourse on Sikh religion and history, but also the contribution, the disproportionate contribution of the Sikh American community to your country of citizenship, that is America. The historic town of Sultanpur Lodi is being developed as a heritage town. Commemorative coins and postage stamps have been released. Special trains are being planned by the Ministry of Railways to connect places associated with Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji. The 550th anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji is being celebrated in a befitting manner in all Indian missions and posts all over the world. One issue that has, there are several issues actually that have been very important from the point of view of the Sikh community in America. And I must say that it's the government of Prime Minister Modi that has really given very special attention to these concerns. And in the last couple of years, we have seen a number of steps that have been taken to address the long-standing issues that have been raised by the Sikh community. And I'll just briefly go over these. One is let's say, grievance of the community with respect to denial of consular services. In particular, those that were placed on what we call local blacklists in Indian missions and posts abroad. A comprehensive review and revision of this list has taken place, and as a result of which the names of 312 Sikhs holding foreign citizenship have been removed from the blacklist. And steps have also been taken for the facilitation of political asylees of Sikh origin, as well as their family members, to obtain passports and consular services. In cases where they have obtained foreign passports, to obtain the necessary visas and OCA services to enable them to visit India. Because as you know, if you were a political asylee, then you were not offered these services. Today, you can freely avail of these services. There have also been long-standing requests of the Sikh community and representative bodies to release various prisoners linked with erstwhile militancy currently in jails in India. These requests are also under active consideration of the government. Now, anti-Sikh riots in 1984 have been exploited by pro-Khalistani elements based abroad for mobilizing support for anti-Indian activities. To address the concerns of the wider Sikh community in this regard, a special investigation team has been constituted by the government to reinvestigate the 186 cases filed in the anti-Sikh riots to ensure justice for the victims. The investigations have been expedited, leading to charge sheets being filed in some cases, and the conviction of at least one very important political figure who was an accused in this matter. The government has also announced additional compensation of Rs 5 lakhs each to the 3,325 victims of the 1984 riots throughout India. The government has released an amount of 2.16 crores to the government of Punjab for disbursement to the 40 Jodhpur detainees, Sikh individuals who were detained following Operation Blue Star in 1984 on humanitarian grounds in June in 2018. To commemorate the 550th birth anniversary of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, a more proactive focus is being given to popularizing the teachings and philosophy of Sikhism, projecting it as India's unique contribution to world peace and harmony. To this effect, a Center for Interfaith Studies is being set up at the Guru Nanak Dev University in Amritsar. Besides chairs on Guru Nanak Dev Ji are proposed to be set up in foreign universities, including in Concordia University in Canada, Birmingham University in UK. We will also explore options in the United States. UNESCO is to publish the writings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji into different languages of the world. And of course, as I mentioned, we are very happy that we are celebrating this historic occasion in the Senate, in Congress, And we have with us eminent personalities who will hold panel discussions on the subjects of life and philosophy of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji and the contributions of the Sikh Americans in the United States. And of course, it is pertinent that we're celebrating this in the US, which has been a beacon of the values of equality and freedom of all human beings, values that are at the core of Sikh philosophy. We would also be screening a documentary by Samantha Cheng on Congressman Dalip Singh Saun, the first Asian American, the first Indian American, and the first Sikh American elected to the United States Congress. It is particularly satisfying to note that resolutions have been introduced in both the House and the Senate, recognizing the historical, cultural and religious significance of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's 550th birth anniversary and the contributions and sacrifices made by Sikh Americans in the United States. The resolution in the House was introduced by Congressman T.J. Cox of California and had 68 bipartisan co-sponsors. And the resolution in the Senate, I'm very happy to say, was introduced by Senator Todd Young of Indiana. I thank him for his presence and I thank you, sir, for having us. Honored us with this resolution and honored all of us who are here with this resolution, recognizing the contribution of Guru Nanak Dev Ji in the Sikh community in the Senate, in the US Senate. And Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland. I may now request the Senator to say a few words. I wish you all once again a very happy 550th Guru Purab. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Please welcome Senator Todd Young of Indiana with a round of applause.
Well, thank you. Thank you, friends, fellow Americans, Your Excellency, members of the press, everyone here who helped make this event possible and special today. I'm really honored to be part of this, a small part of this momentous occasion. We mark the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak, and I'm proud to stand with the 25 million Sikhs around the globe, and the nearly 750,000 across America in celebration of this very day. While radical for his day some 500 years ago, the teachings of the first Sikh Guru, who we celebrate today, were consistent with our nation's founding principles, in teaching that everyone, regardless of gender, regardless of class, regardless of creed, everyone has been created equal. I believe these shared values are why Sikh Americans have made such a profound impact across our country. Back home in my state of Indiana, and even down to my hometown of Greenwood, Indiana, I was sharing with a few of you earlier that my neighborhood is full of Sikh American families. And this is personal for me because they have expressed to me how important this day is to them, and I know it's important to all of you as well. I'm also glad that your commitment to equality and inclusion has led to the historic agreement which allowed the border corridor between India and Pakistan to be open for Sikhs to visit Guru Nanak's shrine, just in time for this 550th birthday. Last month, I was proud to recognize the many contributions that Sikhs have made to communities across this country by introducing the first ever resolution in the United States Senate honoring Sikhs, and recognizing the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak. I'm probably a member of Senator Cardin's staff is here, but I do want to really make sure we underscore the role that Senator Cardin played in this effort as well, introducing this resolution with me. This is, I won't say bipartisan, this is a nonpartisan effort. I'm hopeful the Senate will pass my bipartisan resolution today. We can only hope. And I thank you again for all that you do for our country, again for your presence here on Capitol Hill today, and for inviting me to say a few words to you. God bless.
Thank you, Senator. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored to have with us today Congresswoman Judy Chu of California. She is the founding member of the Congressional Sikh Caucus and also the current vice chair of the Congressional Sikh Caucus. Please give a round of applause for Congresswoman Judy Chu.
As chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus and founder of the first ever Congressional Sikh Caucus, I'm so pleased to join you today to celebrate the 550th anniversary of the birth of the founder of the Sikh religion, Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Guru's life was a true example to all of us and one whose lessons we would do well to heed today. Guru Nanak was a true humanitarian champion. In the face of entrenched discrimination, he preached against prejudices based on race, caste, and status. He promoted the equality of all individuals, no matter what religion they practiced or caste they belonged to. He promoted the equality of all women during a time when women had low status and little respect within society. There is so much as a country that we should take away from the teachings of Guru Nanak. His legacy is a legacy of peace and equality. That's why I founded the Congressional Sikh Caucus. I founded it because I wanted to ensure that our nation could understand the true beauty of the Sikh religion and the great accomplishments of Sikh Americans. I wanted people to know that the very first Asian American in Congress was Dalip Singh Saun, a Sikh American. I wanted people to know about the great Sikh traditions like langar, and in fact now we have an annual langar on the hill. And I wanted people to know about Guru Nanak, and I'm so proud that our member of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, Congressmember T.J. Cox, introduced the House resolution recognizing the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak. But we also must make sure that we fight against policies that would harm people. And that is why I have introduced the No Ban Act, because prejudice should have no place in our society, and the Muslim ban has increased aggressive actions, not just against Muslims, but against all people thought to be different. And so this act, which has both the Senate and a House version, repeals all three versions of the Muslim ban, putting an end to the pain and prejudice it has caused. In addition, earlier this year, we in the House put forth an anti-hate resolution that condemned anti-Semitism, condemned anti-Muslim discrimination, and condemned forms of hatred against Sikhs, and encourage all public officials to confront the reality of all forms of bigotry to ensure that the United States will live up to the principles of tolerance, religious freedom, and equal protection. We must work together as a country to live up to the values taught by Guru Nanak, a country that would be inclusive of all people, where no one feels unsafe and unequal. So let us continue to preserve our religious freedom and celebrate our diversity. Let us work for peace and unity for all people in this country, and let us live up to the legacy that Guru Nanak left us for so many years. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Congresswoman Chu. I would now request Ambassador of India, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla, to kindly present commemorative stamps brought out by the Government of India on the occasion of the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji to the Senator Todd Young and to Congresswoman Judy Chu. If you could kindly please step up and receive those commemorative stamps on the occasion. you, Senator. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Ambassador. It is now my honor to introduce the first panel of the evening. The subject of discussion for the panel is the life and philosophy of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji and its continued relevance today. I would like to briefly introduce our eminent panel of scholars and academicians. For moderating this panel, we are honored to have Ms. Mirin Fool. Ms. Mirin Fool is co-founder and president of Core Foundation and drives the vision behind Core Foundation. She is passionate about civil rights and creating inclusive and safe educational environments for all students. She has helped design and develop engaging educational tools for classroom learning, delivered through school curriculum that promote a better understanding of America's diverse communities. May I please request Ms. Mirin Fool to kindly step up and take her place on the stage. Our first speaker would be Dr. Paul Taylor. Dr. Taylor requires no introduction. He is the curator of Asian, European, and Middle Eastern ethnology at the Smithsonian and head of the museum's Asian Cultural History program. He is an author and editor of numerous books and scholarly articles on ethnography, ethnobiology, linguistic anthropology, and art or material culture of Asia, and the curator of 21 museum exhibitions, including 5 online virtual exhibitions. He has come about with the book Sikh Art from the Kapani Collection in partnership with with Sonia Dhami, and he's also brought out the book Sikh's Legacy of the Punjab. May I please request Dr. Taylor to kindly step forward and take his place on the dais. The next speaker, Ms. Sonia Dhami, has traveled all the way from California to join us today. She serves as the executive director of the Sikh Foundation in California, one of the oldest Sikh organizations in the United States. She is passionate about her work, which demonstrates the confluence of art, culture, history, religion, and community. She has co-edited 2 books, Sikh Art from the Kapani Collection, a definitive volume on Sikh arts, and Games We Play, a richly illustrated bilingual book. Early in her career, she coordinated art projects for clients in India, UK, Canada, and the US. Her work has also been recognized and awarded by the Smithsonian Institute, Ontario Legislative Assembly, and others. Please welcome Ms. Sonia Dhami. Our third speaker for this panel is Dr. Nikki Guninder Kaur Singh. She is the Crawford Family Professor of Religion and Chair, Department of Religious Studies at the Colby College in Maine. Dr. Singh was born in India and went to Stuart Hall, a girls' preparatory school in the USA. She received her BA in Philosophy and Religion from Wellesley College, her master's from the University of Pennsylvania, and her doctorate from Temple University. Her interests focus on poetics and feminist issues. Dr. Singh has published extensively in the field of Sikhism, including the feminine principle in the Sikh vision of the transcendent. The Name of My Beloved, Verses of the Sikh Gurus, Metaphysics and Physics of the Guru Granth Sahib, and her books on Sikhism have also been translated into Japanese. She has lectured widely in North America, England, France, India, and Singapore, and her views have been aired on television and radio in America, Canada, Bangladesh, Australia, Ireland, and India. Her book, The First Sikh, The Life and Legacy of Guru Nanak, is soon to be published. Please put your hands together for Dr. Nikki Guninder Kaur Singh. I now hand over the podium to the moderator to kindly conduct the panel discussion.
It is indeed a wonderful occasion for all of us to celebrate together today. So, Gurpurab ki lakh vadaiyan and happy Gurpurab to everyone. Well, it is an honor to be here today and celebrate our founder, Guru Nanak's 550th birth anniversary. And we want to thank His Excellency, Ambassador Harsh Shringla, who has arranged this entire event, and his team. And we are also very grateful to Satwant Khanalian, First Secretary, who has really worked hard. And Satwant, you see what a good event this is. So, it was wonderful to have the words that we heard from Senator Todd Young from Indiana, as well as Congresswoman Judy Chu. And the fact that Senator Todd Young mentioned the one creator in Guru Nanak that we have is a very important message to realize and to understand. And I think most of us do, but it is good to reinforce and recognize that. And Congresswoman Chu mentioned gender justice and inclusiveness. And that too comes from the teachings of Guru Nanak. And today we are here to celebrate and commemorate his birth anniversary, as Sikhs all over the world are doing. So I stand here today in deep gratitude to my Guru for the clarion call he made for the equality of women, of all women, at a time when women were relegated to the lowest rung of the ladder with no rights or liberties. I'm grateful for the feeling of empowerment and the opportunities that I've had in my life, and for the easy stride that I walk with, the confidence that I feel. And where does it all stem from? The teachings of Guru Nanak. So I'm deeply, deeply grateful. So without much ado, since Satpant has already introduced the panel, and these are my very good friends, other than being illustrious leaders in their field, it's a true honor indeed. Dr. Taylor, Sonia, and Dr. Nikki Gurinder Singh. And before we hear from them, as you know, there are always rules to the game. So let me talk about the rules for today. You're all going to be a very good audience. That's one. This is for the panelists more than anybody else. You each have, as you know, 8 to 9 minutes. I hope your time is on. We'll be watching you. And it'll be, so the panelists will present for about 8 to 9 minutes each. And then we will have a moderated Q&A for about 15 minutes or so. So that's the game plan, and let's begin. Dr. Taylor, I want to invite you to the podium to begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's an honor to be here. When I looked at the other speakers, I thought I should speak less than the required time because I want to hear what you have to say. But this is a great Guru Purab. I join in on behalf of the Smithsonian and its Asian Cultural History Program, not only in thanking the embassy and everyone who comes here today for this event, but also to wish everybody a very happy Guru Purab on this occasion. We join in celebrating. And sorry, I have a slide, PowerPoint, if you don't mind starting it, and that will come up in just a moment. We join in celebrating with everyone, but a big effort during this 550th anniversary year was another publication, which we thought would be something very useful based on exactly the topic that I'll be talking about, presenting the legacy of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji for the American public and scholars. Since a lot of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's work is little understood or not broadly known. And so we have just now published, and actually I should say that on Friday this week we will officially publish the official book launch of our new book, The Japji of Guru Nanak, a new translation with commentary by Dr. Rupinder Singh Brar, for which I wrote an introduction. And we've edited this, which I think will be for a broad readership and something that will be very important. Rowley Books in India is also coming out with a jointly published second edition, first Indian edition, right away also, jointly with the Smithsonian. And if I may, I'd like to present, I'd like to ask if the ambassador could step forward and receive this preview copy. I say preview because it's the first copy, and it's not officially launched until Friday, but we wanted to give this one to you. Thank you, sir. And I'll come back to talking about why we think it's important to publish that. But first, I just wanted to very briefly outline some of the joys and issues that we've faced and the contributions that we feel we can make in the future in the study of Sikh heritage and the presentation. That's what the Smithsonian is about from its founding back in the 1850s, where it was supposed to be an institution for the increase and diffusion of knowledge. Increase in the sense that we're doing research and studies, and in diffusion in the sense that we try to make that available to a broad public. I head up what's called the Asian Cultural History Program, and consequently Sikh heritage and other South Asian and all broadly Asian heritage is exactly what we try to make more widely known. I serve as curator for Asia, Europe, and the Middle East. One way we did that was by the development of the exhibition that opened in 2004, but actually our Sikh Heritage Project was founded in the year 2000 within our program, and it has produced or contributed to many lectures and performances and publications. In addition to this long-term traveling exhibition, Sikh's Legacy of the Punjab, which you see here. If you want to wait on that slide, this is the beginning a section of the exhibition about the age of the Sikh gurus. And you see there some images of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. You see, for example, there's the very interesting Tanjore style painting, and I'll show a close-up of that. That is something that is on loan from a collector in California, Mr. Mahal. And there is also an image of the 10 gurus with the 4 sons of Guru Gobind Singh from the Kapani collection. The original is a smaller painting, which we could only show for a few months because it's an original gouache on paper and consequently very fragile. That's something that we always faced with Sikh art, the fragility of the media itself. And often things were not made to last, which is a problem for museums because we have to try to find ways to make them last longer than they would normally. Let's move to the next slides. Oh, can I do that? Oh, thank you, sorry. And that's a close-up of Guru Nanak from the Kapani collection image. Okay, and this. And here is this section of the exhibition showing also some examples of the, I think this is somehow going backwards, yes. So basically, we're talking about the legacy of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, but in this case, we're also doing some research on the material as we're trying to make it available to the public. So, for example, on that Tanjore painting, this is the kind of painting that's basically a wood covered with gesso, and then lots of decorative glass and gold paint, and then the family had the idea that it was from an earlier time, but it looked like it was, late 19th century or so. So usually, and when that happens, it's because of overpainting. I did the X-ray, and we determined that there's no earlier painting underneath, but it's a very interesting construction also, this kind of wood plank construction with the double-pointed nails holding the planks together to form the base. And other studies of how these paintings in this very unique tradition were done. This may have come from the tradition of boat building, actually. But, so this is an example of how we do technical kind of analysis that we tried to carry out in conjunction with our colleagues in India. An example of the fragility that we face, this is one of the pages from a Janam Sakhi, or the Tales of the Travels of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, in the Kapani collection. That green is absolutely beautiful. It's called verdigris, that's the name of the paint. And this is a magnificently beautiful green and bright color when it's first painted. The problem is that inherent in this kind of paint, which was used throughout India and Pakistan and so on with Sikh art and other nearby traditions, is that it's inherently causing damage to the substrate underneath it, so that the paper is being destroyed, and that's why you see the large holes in that. So that can be neutralized, but it's a big effort to do so. And so really we have a situation which I can show many more examples of, which we're working on with our colleagues in India, we can say disappearance in some cases of entire schools of art, because they're sort of all at once falling apart because of the inherent problems in the original media. And that can be counteracted, but it's a complex process. This is a conference that we organized soon after the exhibition had opened in Chandigarh with my colleagues from INTAC and several other Indian organizations to look specifically at these kinds of issues, the preservation and applications of new technologies for the cultural heritage of the Punjab specifically. And actually, it's a very unusual case because we were able to invite people from West Punjab to join us at this conference. Some of our tours and studies, and we also took a tour to Kila Mubarak. I'm pleased to say that we were able to work with the World Monuments Fund and gain a nice grant for the help with the restoration of Kila Mubarak, the largest man-made limestone structure. So, meanwhile, the exhibition, after closing, has continued to travel. Here it is in Fresno, it's opening, and what we see is that this is an opportunity for people to have a lot of public events. And this is the picture that I included in the book that I was honored to edit with my colleague Sonia Dami on the Sikh art from the Kapani collection about the exhibition in Texas, this turban-tying thing. You know, I would never have thought that that was going to be such a big hit, but I can't believe how many thousands of people just lined up to get a turban tied on them, and then that was the way to bring people in to study and learn about the subject matter. So there is, just to summarize, and you know, in a few minutes I can't say it all, but I can say there's a sort of trick to getting Americans interested. I'm a proud, patriotic American, but let's face it, most Americans, you know, we're the people who can never remember the difference between which one is Austria and which one's Australia and so on. You know? Let alone things like Puerto Rico and Costa Rica, you know, these are impossible to remember which one's which for many people. So, you know, when you talk to the average man on the street about the 550th anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, let's face it, we have some work to do. But what we have tried to do is a series of publications, including this one about the family heirloom collections of by Sikandar Singh of Bagrian. We had someone give an art historical record about that when we did one of our Sikh Heritage lectures, the annual lectures that we did, and we did it in Livonia, Michigan. And I later met by Sikandar Singh and said to him, you know, we could probably find a scholar to write about your collections. And he said, well, that's interesting, but I'd rather do it myself. And sure enough, he did, but it took him years. But we were able to jointly get this one published also, and we are very pleased with the results of working with Sonia and everyone on the Sikh art from the Kapani collection, which I hope you'll talk about, Sonia. So and most recently, even organizations like Arts of Asia, the preeminent, we can say, magazine of Asian art and antiquities published out of Hong Kong, carried an article which I put together about the collection of Pavinder Singh Kanuja in Phoenix, Arizona. So it's in that tradition of scholarship that tries to publish about this that we thought it was very important to publish a new translation with commentary about the Japji. We had several people who were graduate students in philosophy, for example, to look at it and comment. And so we think that we've done something that hasn't really been done before. And I think that perhaps I should stop there because I have so few minutes and I don't want to take any more because I know that the other speakers are excellent speakers. But if anybody has any questions about this, I'd be happy to answer them afterwards. But I think that the best thing we could do in our own small way to celebrate this important Gurpurab was to bring out a new publication which will not be online immediately, although my introduction is already online. And that will hopefully reach a very large audience. And really, I think what Dr. Brar noted, and I feel is the case also, is that perhaps because of this important literary work's status as a sacred religious text, it actually, ironically, has been underappreciated as a literary and philosophical gem of great interest and value to lots of people and relevance today. And so I hope we can do a small part towards changing that. Thank you very much.
Failing in my duties already, I'd like to invite Ms. Sonia Dhami. She is the Executive Director of the Sikh Foundation, which is headquartered in California. So Sonia, thank you.
Ambassador Shringla, distinguished guests, my acclaimed speakers, and ladies and gentlemen. My heartiest greetings to all of you on the 550th birth anniversary of Baba Nanak, as we lovingly call him, or Guru Nanak, as the world knows him, who was born in the year 1469. And you would be familiar with some of his contemporaries. Christopher Columbus, who discovers the Americas, Martin Luther, the German reformist, Vasco da Gama, who discovers the sea route to India, and Machiavelli, the Italian political author. So we see that Baba Nanak is not a prophet from some ancient times. He is someone whose impact is recent and his message is fresh and contemporary. His prime message of the oneness of the human race transcends all barriers of language, color, religion, caste, and gender. And how did he share his message? It was through the beautiful and powerful medium of poetry and music. His 1,000 verses in the Sikh scriptures are not just about spirituality, but they are also a comment on the political situation. His writings, he was one of probably the only classical poets of his times who wrote fearlessly about the tyranny unleashed on the people of Punjab, whether they were Hindus or Muslims, during the invasion of the first Mughal king Babur. And these writings are under the composition Babur Bani and are part of the scriptures. It is the wisdom of his writings and the courage of his life that continues to inspire generations of Sikhs to raise their voices as engaged citizens of the countries that we call home. And a beautiful example is right across our northern borders in the recent Canadian elections, when 18 Sikh candidates won when they make only less than 2% of the population. His legacy continues to live in the 27 million Sikhs worldwide. His legacy lives in the community of the Nanak Panthis, who form a large part of the Hindu community that is in Pakistan today. And his legacy continues to live in the Muslim musicians who continue to sing his devotional verses in Sikh gurdwaras even today. While his message guides us, it certainly did not need the support of any visual imagery. But we do wonder, what did Guru Nanak, the man, look like? Was he tall? Was he dark? Was he fair? Was he stout or was he frail? And probably we will never know, because we do not have any contemporary portrait of him made during his lifetime. The earliest references that we have to Guru Nanak are from the Janam Sakhis, which are classical texts which contain the life stories and episodes of Guru Nanak's life, the earliest of which dates to 1635. And the illustrations in the Janam Sakhis are also the first examples of Sikh paintings. It was during the 18th and the 19th century that produced a bulk of the Janam Sakhis, when illustrious families would commission copies. And it was during this time when Dr. Narinder Singh Kapani, the founding chairman of the Sikh Foundation, which I'm privileged to serve, his family commissioned the Janam Sakhi, which is today in the permanent collections of the Asian Art Museum in San Francisco. And I'd like to share some images. This is one of my favorite pieces from this Janam Sakhi. And in this vibrant painting of Guru Nanak visiting his sister, Bibi Nanki, who is shown bowing in a gesture to touch the Guru's feet. And Guru Nanak is stopping her with his hands raised. And when I see this painting, I am reminded of Guru Nanak's strong belief in gender equality, which is indicated in his writings, where he criticizes the prevalent society of 16th century India for according women an inferior status than men. Now, this is an 18th century painting where we see a pious elderly man sitting and reading from a red book. Judging by his headgear or his manner of dress, we can say maybe he's a Muslim saint or a peer or a fakir. But when we look at the inscription at the top of the painting, it reads, Tasveer Darwesh Nanak Shahi. And we know that this painting is from the Lucknow region. And our guess now is that the artist is probably a Muslim artist who has painted Guru Nanak in the vision of how he envisions a holy man to look. This miniature painting is now from the 19th century. So we're moving from the 18th to the 19th. And here we see Guru Nanak seated on the floor. He's reading, perhaps singing, from a book that he's holding in his left hand. Pai Mardana is playing the rabab, and there is a devotee with folded hands reverently listening. Now, when we look at the image of Guru Nanak here, we can think maybe it is in the form, or he's portrayed as a saint from the Hindu tradition. And now, when we move to the 20th century, by the popular Sikh artist Shobha Singh, yet again portrays Guru Nanak differently. Except for the halo behind his head, which signifies divinity, Guru Nanak now looks like a grandfatherly Sikh of our times. He is now someone that we can recognize as a Sikh of today. And this brings us to the advent of the 21st century, where significant development is gaining momentum, in which there are increasing number of women artists, including Arpana Kaur, who paints an elderly Guru Nanak who's sitting with blue robes, a brown shawl around his shoulders, holding a rosary in his hand, eyes closed, deep in meditation. So we have now looked at the paintings of Guru Nanak from 4 centuries. And we can confidently say that these are not the paintings of the historical Guru Nanak, but they are of a man of his time or society. And they are painted by different artists from different backgrounds and faiths, just as the artists envision them to be. So if the artist was a Hindu, he paints him in the Hindu tradition. If the artist is a Muslim, he paints him in the Muslim tradition. And we also have many portraits in which Guru Nanak is shown to be wearing both Hindu and Muslim dress, which is true because for a fact he did that because he did not want to be identified with any one sect. For me, this is the timeless beauty and aesthetic of the visual memory of Guru Nanak. He is as you imagine him to be. Nanak Shah Fakir, Hindu ka Guru, Musalman ka Peer. This is how the world loves and experiences Baba Nanak. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was so enlightening. And I'd like to invite Dr. Nikki Gurinder Singh to give us her remarks.
I have no remarks. Just a joy. It's such a wonderful occasion to be together here. Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you, Saparkarji, to get us all together here. It's really a fantastic intersection of the past legacy of Guru Nanak 550 years ago, Punjab, far away, and to be here in the hot building celebrating today. So it's really an interesting, fascinating intersection of the past and the future. Thank you, everybody, and Mubarak from the bottom of my heart to all of us. I've been working hard, so what happens when people are lonely for a long time and then they suddenly see people and they go a little berserk? That's what happens to me. So I live in Maine, I'm in a little igloo there, and I sit and write for hours and hours, and then I come and I see my community and I get a little frazzled. But I worked on a book too, and it came out last Wednesday, and this is the first Sikh Life and Legacy. And actually, I wanted the cover, which the ambassador got today from Paul. I'm a little jealous of it because that's a beautiful painting that they got. It's a beautiful translation of the Japji, by the way, by Dr. Brar, very, very fine scholar, also while practicing his cardiology. But the robe that Guru Nanak is wearing, it is in the Arabic script, and it has both the Islamic invocation and the Japji. So it has Bismillah ar-Rahim, and on the other side, the Japjis. Ad Sach, Jugad Sach, Heavy Sach. So so that kind of gives you who the person is, the image, a pluralist, a person most relevant to our world today, where it is so divided and polarized religiously, ethnically, linguistically. And his message is really important, and his celebration is really to see. Sonia showed us beautifully, all did a marvelous job. And I just want you to share with me my favorite verse of Guru Nanak. So it's his poetry. He left us 974 hymns in beautiful, beautiful poetry, musical measures, 19 different ragas. And they are coming with the perfumes from the Islamic world, and they're coming from the Indic world, the beautiful classical ragas and local Punjabi, various what were popular melodies at that time. So it's a very vast artistic legacy that he has left. So my verse for you that I'd like you to grasp something, Rasya hove musk ka tab bhool pachane. Rasya, only the person who enjoys the fragrance knows the flower. Enjoyment and knowledge, the two go hand in hand. So this is his philosophy. If I were to say what is Guru Nanak's religion, I don't know, I'm the chair of the Department of Religious Studies at Kobe College, but if you tell me how to define the word religion, I would not know. But to me, this sentence by Guru Nanak represents that, because it shows us our common humanity. We all have the senses, we all have the mind. All we need to do is to really be conscious who we are, where we are located. Guru Nanak was his time, poetry is timeless, but it intersects with such concrete minutes, moments, hours, seasons, days, weeks. He's really Barama or his Titting or any of those compositions you read, he really, or even the Dharamkand, in the Japji Sahib, everything is kind of making us aware, where are we right now? And yet it is a very universal tradition. So to me, this little verse that he says sums up his aesthetic philosophy. And by aesthetics, I know in the world. I've been studying here all my life, and you have Kierkegaard and fathers of Western philosophy who divide. There is religion, there is ethics, and there is aesthetics at the bottom rung of society. What is aesthetics? Aesthetics is the opposite of anesthetics. And I'm sure there are doctors here. Anesthetics, you go to the dentist, they give you a shot, you're numb. Aesthetics is the opposite. Guru Nanak wanted his society. Sadly, 15th century India was a little, people were numbed. They were kind of taken by orthodoxy, they were kind of taken by rituals. Everybody was trying to outdo the other, and he wanted to wake them up. So it is really kind of an awareness, a consciousness raising. That's what he was doing, and his poetry is the way. So the religious aspect is condensed in that verse. Number 2, the ethics. Rasiya hove muskaka tad bhul pachame, to enjoy. And its enjoyment is being with people. What is a sangat? It is coming together. He did not leave us rules. There are no do's and don'ts anywhere in his poetry. All he wants people to do is to bring their inside and the external together, not to be hypocrites. That's his message. And we all have, and what are the sins or anything? There's nothing that divides us. What is it? What is wrong with us? Kam, krodh, lobh, moh, ankar. It is all these things that come out from our ego, home, that divide us from that oneness. Because that infinite one, that's his message. Ik Onkar. It's literally the numeral 1. Om. The most beautiful, the most sacred syllable, the most important, what should I say, the sound of India. Om. That's how he's describing that one. Ik. One is, that it's an experience of wholeness. So the ethics that he's putting forth is really to kind of experience that oneness. Get rid of your ego. Get rid of your dualities. So all this anger, pride, lust, attachment, greed that we have, those 5 low monkar, are the ones that distort us. They take us away from our basic humanity. They take us away from really sensing, enjoying the rose. We are so carried away by other things. Do we really enjoy life? We do not. So he is making us really celebrate it. And my third one is, it's really his aesthetics, which is heightening and really seeing the joy and wonder all around us. Everything is beautiful. For Guru Nanak, nothing lacks the divine, because there is nothing that is excluded. So the one can be in any which form. And that's why his poetry is such a fantastic reservoir. Anybody can tap into it. He's in northern part of India. It's it's kind of the inroads to the Punjab where he is. And people are coming. There's so many different ethnicities there. So many different languages. He's using that. And he's using the names for God, whether it's Allah, Ram, Rahim, Devi. It really doesn't matter. Sri Rang. He has such beautiful images of Sri Rang, which is used in the Hindu world. But Sri Rang, can you imagine the burst of colors? That's how the divine is. So the divine is the one. The ik can be imagined, felt, experienced in a myriad ways. And that's really the legacy. And I just want to end with the evening prayer that we do, and that is his arti. So this is what he does. It shows you the poetic impulse of Guru Nanak. Arti. And how do we do arti in the Indian world, in the Hindu world? You have a platter, you have a dish, and on it you put lamps, incense, fruit, flowers. And so what does Guru Nanak do? The skies are the platter. Gagan mein thal rav chand deepak bane. The skies are the platter, and the lights, the lamps are sun and moon. And the stars are all twinkling there. And the incense is the breeze. And that's how we all make our worship to the infinite one. That infinite one, and that's why the fragrance is very important. because the fragrance cannot be encapsulated in any way. It's not imaged, it cannot be idolized, it cannot be concretized in any which way. So here it is, and the whole universe, all of us, make this cosmic worship to the one who is beyond, who is all wonder, all beauty, all magnificent. Kaisi aarti hoye pakhand aate aarti. That's Nanak, and that's his legacy. Thank you for being here.
So this second part of our panel today is going to be the question, the Q&A, and we can just be here and take the questions. I have a question each to begin with, but I'll take the same order. I'll start with Paul, Sonia, and then Nikki. So, but feel free, the others feel free to, share your thoughts. So, Paul, I remember the grand opening of the Legacy of Punjab exhibit at the Smithsonian in 2004. And I had the privilege to work with the team in the years prior and bring the community as well to the exhibit. So what I wanted to really ask you was, we just had 9/11 happen a couple of years before. Actually, I think the work began just around that time to develop the exhibit. So, was there? How did the events shape, or how did they affect the development of the exhibit? I'd like for you to share that.
Thank you. I hope this works. Thanks very much. Yes, the Sikh Heritage Project, we began with our exact same goals that we have today, and our vision didn't change, but it began in 2000. So it began before 9/11. A lot of people mistakenly thought that whole thing was a reaction to 9/11, but we're giving these terrorists too much credit if we say that. But certainly that was a very tragic and difficult time for Sikhs because of the horrible cases of mistaken identity. I mean, not that anybody should be harassed, or in some cases there were people killed, but that certainly gave impetus to the idea that people needed to understand more about Sikhs and their contributions and their participation. And we actually had initially, it's very interesting when you ask about Sikh heritage. A lot of Sikhs themselves have a concept of Sikh heritage, which is associated with the gurus and the places they went and things they touched and so on. So in an attempt to begin thinking about an exhibit, we did an early trip to India before 9/11, and we talked with a lot of people, and we actually were able to get a loan of some things that a lot of people thought would be ideal for the purpose. They were all weapons associated with the gurus. And so the idea was we were just going to have a small vitrine about something along the lines of virtue and battling for virtue, or weapons for virtue, or something like that. But then with 9/11, everybody realized this was a horrible idea for sort of identification of Sikhism with weapons that had a religious purpose. I mean, that was, of course, not our intention. And we also, I think a lot of people realized that this was a very much more important exhibit. We were able to get a larger space. I will say that within our museum, it's very difficult to get the kind of space that we got, and for as long as we had it. And then the exhibit continued traveling afterwards. So I would say that the message of our project and so on was important anyway, but that 9/11 basically made it more important and made us realize the importance of contextualizing that component of Sikh faith, which is associated with weapons carrying and the kirpan and so on. I hope that briefly could answer your question.
No, absolutely, it does, and it puts the framework. It helps us understand that the work you began before, that the relevance and the awareness that you brought out with the exhibit, and the breadth of it was truly remarkable. So now I have a question for Sonia. I may come back to you, but right now, Sonia. So you spoke about art and the visualization, the expression of art, and we saw images over the different centuries of artists portraying Guru Nanak. So talking about representations or a portrait of Guru Nanak, how does that tie in? And I'm a lover of art, so I really appreciate that. But I think the question is, and I'd love to hear from you, how does that image or the portrait tie in with the sacred text? Is it a relationship? Are we trying to depict something, given the sentiments that Sikhs normally have about images, etc.? So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and feel free to jump in, Nikki, Paul.
Thank you, Marin. That really is, I think, addressing the elephant in the room regarding imagery in the Sikh tradition. And I must categorically state that the Sikh tradition, art or portraiture of the gurus, these are not objects of worship. That's very clearly, everyone believes that, and that's what is followed. Now, Baba Nanak's life was about connecting people. And art is such a beautiful medium by which we can share our pride in our traditions or cultures or heritage, and we can share this across the barriers that we usually face, whether it is of language, whether it is of religion. And I would like to bring in, we recently closed an exhibit on, this was the first contemporary Sikh art exhibit in a museum in the United States, at the Triton Museum in Santa Clara very recently. And this exhibit celebrated and explored the life and message of Baba Nanak, and also how younger artists are taking his message, his teachings, and their interpretations of their identity in the diaspora. Now, through this exhibit, we were able to share Guru Nanak's message beyond our own community. So it's a museum space. We were able, different demographics of people came from various communities, different age groups, and they were all connected through the medium of art. So in some ways, we can take Guru Nanak or other gurus out of our religious spaces and put them in some cultural space as well, where the conversation can get started and can have much wider horizons. So I feel personally that art is a visual reference, which helps us put things in perspective. And again, I must emphasize that these are not objects of worship in any way.
Did you want to add anything?
I would love to add here. I'm very grateful to Sonia and to Paul. Because it's really significant. And I don't know, Dr. Kapani, I think, is one of the earliest patrons of Sikh art. And for some reason, we in the Sikh tradition are very scared of the visual. And I don't know why. And perhaps it is because coming of Islam or from the Abrahamic tradition, thou shalt not have any graven images. And we have inherited that. But, you know, there's a real beautiful, and Guru Nanak was for people to come together. Why are all the verses set in the musical measures? All of them are in the rag, because music kind of captures the sensibilities of the people. We may not know one another's language, but music transcends that. It creates bonds. Tolstoy, Rabindranath Tagore, how important it is. Art is the way for us to connect. That's a surplus in human beings. So art is very, very important in what you just said, because religion can be daunting. Your religion, my religion, his religion, doctrines, rituals. But art brings us together, and especially in public spaces. So I'm really very, very grateful to Dr. Kapani, Paul, and Mr. Kaluja, who has started a gallery at the Phoenix Museum. So these are very important people, very important spaces for us to come together and share our cultures. Thank you, what you're doing, and keep on with that.
Right, and I think Sonia. Sonia made a good point about separating it from worship. So that was good. But I think, Nikki, to your point of why is it such a, again, in my humble opinion, and the little that I know among these scholars, I think at that time the idea was to sort of stay away from idolatry. And so just to sort of, take it all in. Yes. So we have, Nikki, we have about 5 minutes or so. So I'm really sorry to limit that time. Okay. So you talked about poetry. And your book, The First Sikh, I need to show that again. It's really amazing. And I think we should all have a copy of this. I truly do, yeah. And I think at the end of this, if you may present it to them, I'm speaking on your behalf, if that's all right. So to come back to the question, you talked about poetry and about the first Sikh, the life and legacy of Guru Nanak. So what aspects of this book would you highlight, or did you highlight, that speak to the relevance of today's contemporary society in terms of messaging?
Thank you. It is a biography of Guru Nanak, but it is a biography through his own verse, through his own voice. So I've been translating his poetry. I'm doing something for Harvard for the Murthy collection. That's a big project. And I really find his poetry very, very uplifting, very beautiful, and meaningful. And poetry is not just for poetry's sake. Here, art is not for art's sake. Master Confucius and so forth. It is to change people. How do we change our consciousness? Our rules and regulations only go so far. We all know how to live. Everything is equal. Do we practice it? How do those things seep into our deeply unconscious? That is the role of poetry, art, music, and so forth. And so I really looked at him through this lens. And I have different chapters. I look at him as a philosopher, great philosopher. I look at him as a mystic, great mystic. I look at him even as an artist, because I translate the Japji, and the very final stanza of the Japji is a goldsmith creating gold coins in a smithy. And that metaphor, I think, refers to him himself, and he's making a gold coin, and that gold coin is the word, the ambrosial word, this which is his poetry, which is the poetry anywhere. He has great respect for the Holy Quran, for the Vedas, for the Puranas, everywhere he has great respect. For the Brahmins, great respect, so long as they keep their word, the etymology, brah, to grow, to expand, to see the infinite one, Sat Chit Ananda. So long as anybody does that, that's where he respects them. So it was the philosophy, the mysticism, but then he speaks to us. This is, as I said, it's timeless poetry, yet it helps us navigate the nitty-gritties of everyday life. So I see him as a proponent of human rights. I know it was Eleanor Roosevelt, the word started with her, but Guru Nanak in 15th century India has these things. It's just we need to see we need to read his poetry through our contemporary lenses, and we find everything. So I saw him as a humanist, I saw him as an environmentalist, so much there for the environment, how to live. And it's not just a romantic notion of nature, it is nature has a voice. How do we relate with nature? We are related with nature. Mata, Tart, Guru, Pani Pita, Mata, Tart, all these, so mother, father, these are all air, these are our elements. So he really kind of connects us with the world around us. How can we do what we are doing right now? Polluting our seas, our oceans, really kind of eradicating everything. So as an environmentalist and as a feminist, and I've been working on the feminist for a long, long time, I've been doing that. What I want to I'll end here, what I want to say is Guru Nanak's philosophy is universal, one being. But I want us to be very clear that oneness and universality does not mean uniformity. Because that's what we are doing today. We are destroying our planet. Everything is homogenized. I was flying in on Delta last night, and there was a magazine where they said how many species are being destroyed, how many languages, how many cultures. How can we do that? and Guru Nanak's very beautiful verse, if I can find it, I did have it. Jad jad dekha ta jyot tumhari, wherever I see you, there is your light. Tera roop kanhaiya, how wonderful your form. Ikat roop fire parchana, you have one form only. Koi na kisi jeha. There is no that is alike any other. So there is diversity. Every being should be respected for who they are. Every language, every accent. We cannot just say one God, everything is one and destroy. Our world is to see this mosaic of difference and divisions. And as Guru Nanak said, see yourself. Who is a religious person? Who sees themselves in every face. That's Surya. Thank you. Celebrations.
And remember, and that in itself is the true celebration of today's 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak. So thank you so much, Nikki. Thank you, Sonia. Thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure, and you've been such a great, inspiring panel from the bottom of my heart, and I'm sure everyone agrees. Thank you. And I just want to say there was a question, if I may let the gentleman know, if you, Dr. Paul Taylor is here, the question was for Dr. Paul Taylor, if he would just sort of have an informal chat after, I'm sure Dr. Taylor would be happy to answer the question. Thank you.
Please join me in thanking this eminent panel of scholars with a big round of applause. I think what they have done through their scholarly expertise is bring the message of Baba Nanak to the audience in a way that we can relate to, that we can understand. And I think that is something that is very essential. Sometimes in the texts, we find that in the current language, sometimes words are difficult to understand or concepts are difficult to relate. So what you've done is an excellent job of bringing it to the audience. And also, I completely agree. I mean, Baba Nanak was way ahead of his times, whether it's gender equality or human rights. He saw where we were heading 500 years ago. So that is an amazing legacy that we have. I would now request Ambassador of India, His Excellency Harshvardhan Shringla, to kindly step forward and present bouquets as tokens of our appreciation to all the panel members. And I must say, Miriam did an excellent job of keeping everyone to their time. So, wonderfully done. Absolutely. So we will also have Dr. Nikki Singh present her book to the ambassador. And maybe also present a bouquet. She could also accept a bouquet from. I would request Dr. Paul Taylor, Head of the Asian Cultural History Program at the Smithsonian, to kindly accept a bouquet as our token of appreciation from Ambassador. Ms. Sonia Dhami, Executive Director of the Sikh Foundation International from California. And may I now request you all to post the photograph with Ambassador in front. And also, Nireen, you kept everyone to time, which is a very difficult task, given the eminent scholars that we had on the panel. So kudos to you, and a bouquet as our token of appreciation. And may we have a group photograph now?
Yes. Thank you very much.
I will also like to share with the audience that these eminent speakers are with us for the remainder of the event as well. So any questions that you have, any ideas that you would like to discuss with them, please feel free to interact. It is now my honor to present to you a documentary on a true trailblazer, Congressman Dalip Singh Sohn of California. He was a first in every category that you can think of. He was the first Asian American, he was the first Indian American, and the first Sikh American elected to the United States Congress. It is interesting to note that he won his first election to the United States Congress on 6 November 1956. So that's almost exactly 63 years ago this month. The documentary that we are presenting today, The Leap Sing Song, His Life, His Legacy, is a labor of love by writer, producer and director Ms. E. Samantha Chang, who we are honored to have with us today. I would like to say a few words to introduce her. She's right there. She is a broadcast veteran in national news and television production. She is an experienced journalist and documentarian. And Samantha has devoted much of her career to raising the visibility of women in technology, Asian and Pacific Islander Americans, and their contributions to the United States history. So we are indeed honored that you could join us here today, and we are honored that we could play this documentary for this audience. And I would also request that we have an excellent selection of Punjabi snacks that you can enjoy while you watch the documentary. So we've got some Amritsari kulche chole, some halwa and some chai for you. So please help yourself to the buffet and enjoy the documentary. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Congressman Greg Pence of Indiana. If I may request you to kindly come towards the center of the hall. Thank you so much. I will now invite Congressman Pence to kindly come up and say a few words to the gathering. Thank you.
Welcome to Washington, D.C. I'm honored to be here today. I just wanted to quickly share some things. I'm from Indiana, the Indiana 6th District. I am a Republican, and I am the older brother of the Vice President, so he looks like me, I don't look like him. Let's get that straight right off the beginning. So I've done two things on behalf of the celebration this week and today. On Friday, I introduced House Resolution 680, recognizing the historical, cultural, religious significance of the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak and the contributions and sacrifices made by the Sikhs of the United States. And we hope that gets passed. I know my very dear friend from Indiana, Senator Todd Young, also introduced a companion on the Senate side. This morning, I introduced a congressional record, and if I may read it, and it's a little bit slanted to Indiana, but hey, that's where I'm from. Mr. Speaker, I rise today to recognize a very special day for the Hoosier Sikh community and the 550th birthday of Guru Nanak, the founder of Sikhism. This occasion will be celebrated by more than 25 million Sikhs worldwide on November 12, 2019. Indiana is proud to be home of over 10,000 Sikhs that enrich our communities and embody the meaning of Hoosier values. Hoosier Sikhs are one of the fastest growing business communities in Indiana, and their contributions to our economy and cultural values. On this day, I am proud to stand with our friends in the Sikh community by offering legislation to celebrate this momentous occasion and honor their contributions to Indiana and to our great nation. Thank you. Happy holiday today. Thank you.
Request Ambassador to present a commemorative stamp on the 550th birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji to the Honorable Congressman. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Ambassador. We will be beginning with the second panel discussion in about 5 minutes' time. So I would request you to settle down and also enjoy the remainder part of the documentary. Thank you. You were also able to catch a glimpse of the wonderful documentary on Congressman Leap Sing Song by Samantha Chang. She is with us today, and I would now request Thank you, sir. Thank you, Samantha. It's such an honor to have you with us today. We will now commence our second panel discussion. The subject of the discussion is a very pertinent one. It is contributions of Sikh Americans in the United States. And to talk about this, we have been fortunate enough to bring together a panel of eminent speakers, successful Sikh Americans in their field of work, who have lived the ideals of Sikhism through their work, through their profession, and they have traveled today from all parts of the United States to be with us here today. For moderating the panel, we have Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Chawla. Ace diplomatic interpreter Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Chawla is a successful entrepreneur, owner of California-based Indian Language Services with a track record of over 28 years working in the field of public diplomacy and the corporate world, involved with rendering and articulating messages of presidents and prime ministers in different languages. She is widely traveled across the globe, working at international forums such as the United Nations, G20, G7, 2+2, the Conference on Climate Change, ASEAN, and the US-India Strategic and Commercial Dialogue. Another feather in her cap is her role as Senior Fellow at Imagine India and co-founder of Global Initiative on Live and Let Live, the 18th Goal Campaign. Please put your hands together for Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Chawla. Our first speaker for this panel is Mayor Hari Sidhu. He needs no introduction, but I will try nonetheless, as my duty as the Master of Ceremonies. Mayor Hari Sidhu was elected Mayor of Anaheim in November 2018, representing the city at large. Mayor Sidhu has previously served on Anaheim City Council from 2004 to 2012, including as Mayor Pro Tem from 2009, 2011, and 2012. Before serving on the City Council, he was Chairman of Anaheim's Budget Advisory Commission and served on the city's Audit Committee. He has also previously served on the Board of Directors for the Orange County Water District and as an alternate to the Santa Ana Watershed Authority Board of Directors. As Mayor, Mr. Sidhu seeks to encourage a thriving business community and economic development that creates jobs and housing and that meets the needs of residents and businesses. Mayor Sidhu understands the value of honest hard work. He worked his way through college and after a successful engineering career, started a small business that began with a single restaurant. He is now recognized as a successful California businessman and owner of restaurants in Orange County. Please put your hands together to welcome Mayor Hari Sidhu of Anaheim. Our next speaker is Professor Mohan Sahni from the Kellogg School of Management. Professor Sahni is a global recognized scholar, teacher, consultant, and speaker in innovation, strategic marketing, and new media. His research and teaching currently focuses on modern marketing, organic growth, and business innovation. He has written 6 management books as well as dozens of influential articles in leading academic journals and managerial publications. His most recent book, Fewer, Bigger, Bolder, From Mindless Expansion to Focused Growth, was published in July 2014 by Penguin. He has also written several influential articles in prestigious journals like the Harvard Business Review, Journal of Interactive Marketing, Management Science, Marketing Science, the MIT Sloan Management Review, and Journal of the Academy of Marketing Science. He is a recipient of several prestigious awards. If I go over the list, it will take another 5 minutes. So without further ado, please put your hands together for Professor Mohan Sahni. We also have with us Dr. Manohar Singh. He is Dean of the School of Graduate and Professional Studies at the Southern Connecticut State University. Before this, he was at Humboldt, where he helped launch an effort to raise $10 million for an endowed RN to BSN program. He also led the development of new programs such as online programs in education in collaboration with Cal State Tech. Before his role at Humboldt, he served as division head for the Division of Business and Social Sciences at the Penn State University. At Penn State, he led the effort to establish new academic programs such as a fast-track MBA in collaboration with Penn State Great Valley, as well as bachelor's degrees in rehabilitation and human services and in accounting. He also served as chairman of the Penn State Grand Valley Faculty Senate and has held the title of Full Professor of Finance there since 2016. Please put your hands together to welcome Dr. Manohar Singh, Dean of the School of Graduate Professional Studies at the Southern Connecticut State University. Please welcome Dr. Manohar Singh. Last but not the least, we have with us Jasjeet Singh. He is Senior Director at the US-India Business Council at the US Chamber of Commerce. Prior to joining USIBC, Jasjeet was a Senior Policy Advisor in the Obama administration, and he was also the Executive Director of the Sikh American Legal Defense and Education Fund, SALDEF, the oldest Sikh American advocacy group in the country. He was selected to serve on the Secretary of Homeland Security's Faith-Based Initiative, as well as the Executive Committee for the National Coalition of Asian Pacific Americans, the largest pan-Asian advocacy coalition. Jasjeet has provided written and oral testimony to the US Congress, and he has appeared on various media outlets and published op-eds for a variety of outlets. He was recently awarded the Asian Pacific American Institute of Congressional Studies Community Pioneer Award and University of Illinois Outstanding Asian American Alumni of the Year Award. Please put your hands together to welcome Jasjeet Singh. I now hand over the podium to Dr. Gurdeep to kindly conduct the panel discussion.
Sorry, I can't take your first name. The reason is my mom's name is also Satwan. So I always call him Miss Kanalia. But Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. What a wonderful way to celebrate the 550th anniversary of our great master, the first master of Sikhism, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji, at the Capitol Hill in the midst of such an awesome and wonderful gathering. It's a true privilege for me and pride for me that I'm here in this August gathering, and I've been given the responsibility to run this second session, to moderate this second session. So I would like to express my gratitude to the Honorable Ambassador and his staff, the First Secretary Ms. Khanalia, for putting up such a wonderful event and getting all the elite gathering here, and putting up such a wonderful exhibition, the movie and panel discussions, and most of all the wonderful food that we just partook of. Typical Punjabi, Amritsari chole and kulche and everything, that takes away the credit. So I would like to speak a little bit about Sikhism, although we all know about it and a lot has been talked about, but just a little mention about it. Sikhism, which is an independent faith in the world, it is the fifth largest religion. It was founded in the 15th century by the first Guru, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, whose 550th anniversary we are celebrating today. A message of Sikhism is very, very simple, which is there is only one divine force behind all creation, recognizable by all through the meditation and service of humanity. So that's the main theme of humanity, serving the humanity is the main theme for Sikhism. And Sikh Americans account today at approximately 700,000 in the US, have been in the US for 125 years or even more. And the subject today on which I'm going to be moderating is contributions of Sikh Americans in the United States. So I would like to talk a little bit about when the Sikhs came here and what the contributions is. The first Sikhs came to the United States in the 1890s to work in the lumber mills of Pacific Northwest, in the farms of California, where I hail from, and to build the railroads that would connect America. In 1923, Sardar Bhagat Singh Thind, a first World War veteran, went to Supreme Court to challenge the laws that prevented Asians from becoming citizens. And not much later, the Leap Singh song, whose documentary we all just saw, became the first Asian American and the first Sikh American to serve in the United States Congress. While we're talking about contributions of Sikh Americans, I would like to mention that the first inventor of fiber optics is a Sikh American, as is the country's largest peach grower. And not to forget the mayor of New Jersey, and Morgan Freeman's personal physician. And how can we forget, when we're talking about contributions of Americans, how can we forget the contributions of artists such as Grammy-winning artist Nanak Kaur and commercial airline pilot Arvinder Kaur, to name a few. I'm indeed blessed and privileged to be moderating this session on the Sikh Americans' contributions, a panel composed of the most successful and the most elite Sikh academicians, politicians, entrepreneurs. Thank you very much. And with this, I would like to introduce the first panelist on my list, which is Mayor Harry Sidhu. Mayor Harry Sidhu is the mayor of Anaheim, California. And he's been the mayor since 2018 and has held several other offices also in public service as member of the City Council, Budget Advisory Commission, etc., just to name a few. I would like to invite him to give a little presentation about what his contribution has been as an American citizen in the United States.
Thank you.
Sat Sri Akal to all of you. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. साथ संगत जी हो, आप जी नाल मैं कुछ सांझ करना चाहना है ना जब गुरु साहब ने ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਵਾਜ਼ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਸੀਗੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਚੱਲਦਾ ਸੀਗਾ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਆਪਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪੂਰੀ ਜੋਸ਼ ਨਾਲ ਬੋਲਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਮੈਂ ਫੇਰ ਬੋਲਾਂਗਾ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਬੋਲੋ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ here we go नानक नाम चढ़दी कला तेरे बाणे सर्वत दा भला एक बार और बोलो नानक नाम चढ़दी कला तेरे बाणे सर्वत दा भला Happy birthday to you on the special 550-year Guru Nanak Dev Ji celebration. According to him, why consider someone inferior who bears prophets and kings? No religious conversion. God does not believe in religious labels. Instead, he likes our action and deeds. Against religious rituals, free food for all, regardless of race, religion, and caste, and who comes from the doors of the Gurdwara, any place. First, to respect other faiths. The Holy Book has teachings of every faith as a mark of respect to every faith. As a result of his philosophy, his followers are punching well above their weight for mankind. There is no sick beggar in the world. Instead, they are contributing more to the world with their lives. Now let me tell you about me. I have came a long way from my birthplace in Amritsar, a place, a sacred pilgrimage for so many saints. But Sikh Dharma had never left me. It guides me every day. I do as a mayor, a businessman, and as a part of community. And most importantly, in my family life, as a loving husband, father, son, and a brother. And today, with me, my daughter is visiting from New York, Suhina Sidhu, right here. She lives in New York, and she's an actress working on a current series, which is the hit series called Evil on CBS. Congratulations. Teaching of Guru Nanak are universal. Keep God in your heart and mind. Live honestly and hard work. Treat everyone with equality. Be generous to those less fortunate. Serve others. So some may know their benefits as the golden rule. Some may know them as a fundamental American values enshrined on the Statue of Liberty or in our Constitution. To others, they are simply the promise of America. Yet, as universal as these beliefs are, we still face challenges. We are often misunderstood or confused for something we are not. That is why I'm humbled and honored to be the first Sikh mayor of the city of Anaheim. First Sikh mayor of color in 162 years since the city of Anaheim was formed. Anaheim is a modern, diverse city with a proud history dating back to 1857. It is the 10th most populated city in California and the 54th most populated city in the United States. It is a city known around the world as the home of the Disneyland Resort, which I believe a lot of you have visited. This was the original Disneyland where it started from. Angel baseball team, the Anaheim Ducks, which is the hockey team, and an Anaheim Convention Center, which is the largest of the West Coast. Anaheim is a full-service city, supported more than 360,000 residents and 20,000 businesses. This city provides public safety through the Anaheim Police Department and Anaheim Fire and Rescue, water and power services through Anaheim Public Utility, parks, community services, libraries through Anaheim Community Services, neighborhood and transportation improvement through public works, and community revitalization through our community and economic development. It is my privilege to represent a diverse city of many different people. We have more than 50% population of Anaheim is Hispanics. My faith and its love for everyone allows me to connect with people who might be different from me. Each year, we welcome people from all around the world to Anaheim. More than 25 million people visit Anaheim annually. Sikh hospitality, which comes from Guru Nanak himself, guides me as a mayor of great visitors cities. In Anaheim, we are blessed with a strong economy, but with that comes a responsibility to help and service others. In 2007, I worked with another member of the Indo-American community, Dr. Nitin Shah, to start the Anaheim Health Fair. In September, this September, we have hosted the 13th Health Fair, provided free care for 1,000 people. Since 2007, I'm proud to say that we have cared more than 15,000 people, giving free health care to these people who are unfortunate. In 2018, Anaheim faced a homeless crisis. People living in parks and over sidewalks. It looked like a third world country. My first act after taking office last December was to build an emergency shelter. In just 2 weeks, through a public-private partnership that helped to get people out of the cold and rain. In total, we helped more than 2,000 people out homeless in Anaheim. Anaheim also embraces Sikh ideal of honest and hard work. I call it, and this is my logo if you go to the city of Anaheim, empowering the American dream. It had never happened before. Empowering the American dream. I've seen what is possible is this great country gives to everybody. I came here from India, 1974, with only $6 in my pocket, with little bit more than hopes and dreams. I worked through college as a hotel janitor. This was in 1974. I earned a mechanical engineering degree and work as an aerospace engineer. And today, I'm proud to own and operate a restaurant and employ hundreds of people around my city. To be sworn into the office for the 46th mayor of a large, vibrant city is a proof of American dream is alive and well in Anaheim. As a mayor, it is my mission to ensure that the doors of opportunity will always be open for everyone to participate in the American dream. It is all serve others with God in my heart. Anaheim always embraced bold thinking. It has helped us build a prosperous community. As a mayor, I want to continue that tradition for a new generation to come in Anaheim. Many of them may speak with an accent or be of color. I was asked once when I was speaking, you speak with an accent, where you're from? And my answer was, I didn't have an accent till I came to this country. I'm proud to be one of them. Thank you again for allowing me to be part of this great celebration. And in that, I would say, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. एक बार और जबरदस्ती यार की गल है कि जाननी है नहीं वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mayor Harry Sidhu. That was awesome. And I would like to now invite Dr. Manohar Singh, Dean of Graduate and Professional Studies, to say a few words and his contributions.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. It's very usual, customary to say it's a privilege and an honor to be here. That is true, to be among you all who have faith in Guru Nanak's philosophy and Guru Nanak's path. But more importantly than saying it's a privilege and honor, which it is because it is part of Sangat, but I am so honored to be a Sikh whom Guru Nanak Dev Ji's spirit, his presence, chose as one of his to be able to speak to you all and to the rest of the world, wherever we are. It is Guru who chose me, and I am one humble son of his, and that's my privilege. Thank you for being here. When I was invited to speak on the panel on contributions of Sikhs to America, I got a little panicked and I said, oh, let me Google what we have been doing. And I found the same exact data statistics. We are 700,000 people. We came in 18-something early on and all that. And I said, everybody would know that from Wikipedia. So what do I say to us? What is it that is our contribution? After a lot more discussions with my colleagues, with my family, with my son, who is a young 26-year-old boy for me, living his dream in New York City. I have a daughter who is a Sikh, young Sikh girl, woman, lady, and a powerful one at that. She lives in New York City and makes me and other Sikhs proud. I was just looking at the exchange of glances between a daughter and a father. Both of them were proud of each other, and I could sense exactly the same thing between me and my daughter, me and my son sitting across. What is it that is so common that makes us bind with each other's emotions? What is it? It's the core. And the core is defined as some philosophy that Guru said, abide by it and you will have a life of fulfillment, gratitude, not only here, but beyond your physical existence. What does that mean? How can you be there beyond your physical existence? That is a spirit that will continue. And that's the spirit that has been continuing since 1469. That continuation is what is the contribution of Sikhs to America. That spirit, that core that we carry with us, whether it is a turban or it is just the loud Punjabi bole sonehals actually called, or whether it is serving langar, or whether it is being a volunteer at some disaster event, whether it is wearing a turban despite being bullied, whether it is carrying the message of Guru despite being under attack, whether it is Oak in Wisconsin, in the Gurdwara killings, or whether it is in Arizona, single Sikh was targeted after violence against Sikhs because of the aftermath of the hatred against Muslim brothers. It is that spirit. You have never heard any aggression, collective rights in reaction to that killing. Not only in this country, but even in India where there were Sikh riots in 1984, or prior to that Punjab problem. I grew up in Chandigarh. That spirit told us the spirit is of life. It's spirit of not acting like the aggressor, accepting what is God's grace, but that doesn't mean inaction. Act. Act to do what is expected of a sovereign person. We choose to stand out with our presence, with our turbans, with our gurdwaras, with our symbols, with our actions, with our spirit. That is what the contribution of Sikhs is to this country. We tell everyone, whether you are African American or Chinese or Indian or a Muslim brother, wherever you're from, you have your sovereignty granted by Almighty, none other than the Almighty. Don't compromise on that. You're not weak, you're not alone. You are source, and you are also source from one Jot. That's why you are the most powerful one. The previous panelist mentioned the oneness which is driven from that Jot, that spirit. That also reminds me of what does it mean to live as a Sikh in this country despite our appearances, our voices, our political views. We have conquered. What we have conquered is probably not yet being celebrated enough. We do pull out the swan from our earnings. That is Sikh spirit. We do go to gurdwaras and do matha teko with still whatever offerings we have. That is the spirit. All our gurdwaras are open to anyone, absolutely anyone, irrespective of color, creed, sex, religion. That is the spirit. That's the way of Sikhi. And that's our contribution to American life. Yes, we are only 700,000. But from everyone's action every single day, I see your contributions as Sikhs. I see my contribution as Sikhs. I see the next generation's contributions. It's the belief in your sovereignty, the muscle that you have, the core strength that Sikhi has instilled in us as sovereigns, whether it was against Babur or whether it was against Aurangzeb. We still stand and stand solid because of that sovereignty. But do not forget, as in the previous panel, it was highlighted. Sovereignty does not conflict with plurality. It means I can be who I am, at the same time sovereignty tells me let others be who they want to be. And that is the message. That's the way we live. That's our contribution. Don't bully, don't get bullied. Don't tolerate injustice, don't give out injustice. That's our contribution. The tolerance, respect for each other's way of living, not imposing your way or highway philosophy on others. What does it mean? How are we going to conquer this world with 700,000? Maybe we will be 1 million in some X number of years. Am I hopeful of our contributions to this country and beyond? And the answer is absolutely. I am in a business of education. And I can tell you, I am more hopeful than I could ever have been. Why is it? Because I see the trajectory with which we Sikhs came into this country. We built our presence slowly, steadily, surely, without wavering from our faith and our beliefs. We became one with this nation's population, without wavering, without giving up who we are. World is only a better place, more tolerant, more accepting, more inclusive. Why? Because we are more accepting, more inclusive, and more humble. Why am I hopeful? And why am I hopeful specifically? Because I am a Sikh. Because if I could, so could anyone else. In future, it will be a trajectory that you will all be proud of because of your heritage being Sikh. In the business of education, you will see creation of awareness. Creation of awareness is actually creation of a wave. And a wave is a revolution in the making. Carry on with these spirits, stay the course, believe in Guru Nanak's philosophy, and believe in, despite setbacks, that only in the long term, 1469 to today, 550 years, we have gained the ground, hence future is for us. When I say us, it does not mean for us as Sikhs. It means a future defined by the values we carry for the rest of the world, for everyone in this world. I would certainly want to see, in concrete terms, not just the philosophical messaging and awareness and carrying on the message of Guru Nanak. I would want to see hope being enacted. And that is, I call upon you all to make your contributions. This is a year of celebration of 550th anniversary. Let's build an institution that will say Guru Nanak Sikh University. Let's have more scholarships for people who would want to study Sikh scriptures, Sikh culture, Sikh music, Sikh history, Sikh way of life. We have built gurdwaras, they are the foundation, they are dharamsalas. They should be like education institutions, not just the prayer places. Gurdwaras are the foundations. From there, we have started schools. Next step is higher education, and I'm sure with that philosophy, with that spirit of Guru Nanak going forward, the world is for us to conquer with love and spread the peaceful message of equality, justice that we are all looking for in this world. With that, I must say thank you very much for being here. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. It was wonderful to hear you summarize the message of Guru Nanak as a life of fulfillment and gratitude beyond physical existence. I couldn't have summarized it any better. And also that there is one jewel, one light in each one of us. And I'm sure the day is not far when we will indeed have a Sikh university, a Sikh seat of Guru Nanak as it is being propounded in other countries as well. With this, I will now like to invite Mr. Jasmeet Singh, who leads the USIBC, the manufacturer and supply chain, and has also been a very senior advisor in the Obama administration, to come and talk about his contributions. Thank you.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. While Guru Nanak's 550th anniversary is celebrated throughout the world today, I'm reminded of the following Shabad, which has come to many minds today. When Guru Nanak appeared in the world, the mists lifted, there was light everywhere. Like with the rising of the sun, stars hide and darkness retreats. Like at the roaring of the lion, the deer flee. To the ambassador, fellow panelists, Capitol Hill colleagues, and esteemed guests, I'd like to congratulate all of you on the birth anniversary of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. I'm honored to share with you some thoughts on the contribution of Sikh Americans in the context of Guru Nanak's legacy. And today, as I thought about my remarks, I went back in time and thought more about my life, my previous incarnation, if you will, as the executive director of the Sikh American Legal Defense Fund, SALDEF. In that role, I had the privilege of observing the community from a very interesting vantage point. I was in a position where I was fortunate to help many around the country in various issues related to racial profiling, school bullying, hate crimes, and employment discrimination. In that role, I was able to observe the community in two primary lenses. I was able to see our contribution to the American landscape, as well as how our values connect to Guru Nanak's life. So first, in my role with SALDEF, I worked on media and education projects to oftentimes change the narrative about who Sikh Americans were. With little education being public, I'm talking about 10, 15 years ago, I think a lot of improvement has been made, but there were many misconceptions. And in the absence of proactive information coming out from the community, we had misinformation, misconceptions, which were resulting in severe forms of bias. Issues that were more than just inconveniences at an airport. We had employment challenges where Sikh Americans were, and to some extent even today, had to face the impossible challenge of choosing between their livelihood to support their family and their articles of faith, for instance. But I would say that first, when I was in those roles, I found great pride in understanding what the Sikh contribution to America was. As was outlined a little bit earlier, you know, Sikhs arrived here in the late 1800s and we've been making notable contributions. Early immigrants literally built the infrastructure of this great country. Sikh Americans like Bhagat Singh Thind served in the US military during World War, and in fact he took a legal battle for US citizenship all the way up to the Supreme Court. We watched a wonderful video about Dalip Singh Sond, and no one can underestimate his contribution to not only the Sikh American cause, but the Asian American progress that this country has today. Now, as I work with pockets of Sikhs around the country, what I remember most vividly are the common values that I saw amongst different communities around which I had the privilege to work. Whether, regardless of the age or the gender or the economic status of the Sikhs that I was working with, I found these values to be on display, both during times of distress, such as during Oak Creek, or during times of peace and joy. These values were a commitment to community service, a commitment to justice, and generally humility. Thinking about the life and impact of Guru Nanak, one can clearly see the origin of these values through the stories that we've all come to know. And perhaps the most common story that we know of Guru Nanak is the one which is commonly referred to as Sacha Sauda, where Guru Nanak was given 20 rupees by his father, which was a large sum in those days, to go out and start a business, start something profitable. Instead, he came home, on his route, he came across some poor and needy individuals, and he decided to feed and clothe them. Now for us, knowing the spirit and now legacy of Guru Nanak, none of that is surprising. However, it was extremely surprising, you could imagine, to his father who had made that initial investment. But for Guru Nanak, as I said, the concept of selfless service was a way of life. And in that same way, and just like today, Harmandir Sahib serves 100,000 meals per day to the needy, hundreds of gurdwaras around the US are engaged in similar charitable activities throughout the year. Secondly, on the issue of justice. Oftentimes we have an image of Guru Nanak. Many of us may have a picture of Guru Nanak. I have one in my home where he looks pretty solemn, pretty pious and noble. And in my particular rendering in my home, he looks almost a little sleepy. It's calm and peaceful to look at, and my daughter Shirley likes seeing it before bedtime. But I would submit to you that the image of Guru Nanak that many of us have may not be an exact representation of the true character of a man who we are celebrating still 550 years later. He was a city planner. We know that from history. What he built in Kartarpur stands today as a testament to that. He was someone who had no fear. He stood in front of Babur, a man who was the ruler of Asia at the time. And while Babur brought him in front of him to seek his blessing in further conquest of the South Asian subcontinent, Guru Nanak said to him in unequivocal terms that what he was doing was wrong. And in fact, he clearly documented it within our Gurbani so that we as Sikhs would on a regular basis remember that these atrocities are not only to be not stood for, but to be actively voiced against, and injustice in all its forms should be rooted out. In that similar way, I have observed Sikhs have established civil rights organizations in the United States which commonly speak truth to power. And not only in the context of Sikhs who are facing their challenges, but in broader coalitions that express the rights of other religious minorities to freely practice their faith as they would like. Lastly, when Guru Nanak finally settled down in Kartarpur and proclaimed that the next Guru would be Guru Angad Dev Ji, he was actually in good health. And it was not a short amount of time after which Guru Nanak passed. So the point here that I'd like to make is that rarely do people give up power. Imagine the idea of someone who has just started a faith, which is just burgeoning after decades of growth. Under no pressure from external circumstance, this individual, after numerous tests, finds the right successor and hands over the reins, and then goes on farming his farm and tells people who come to him that, hey, your guru is over there. That's your guru now. To me, and I think to the Sikhs across the US, this is a phenomenal point of pride that we see how much humility our founder and our teacher had. And in fact, we close every Sikh prayer by saying, Nanak Naam Chardi Kala Tere Pane Sarvada Pala. This is our humble request to the Almighty that all beings receive peace and blessings. So thank you for holding this lovely program, and congratulations once again.
Thank you so much, Justine, for talking about the challenges that have been faced by Sikhs and the notable contributions and commitments to justice that we have shown, and how well you connected it all to the teachings of Guru Nanak and his legacy. So thank you so much for that. And with this, I would like to now call our final panelist, Professor Sani, who's globally recognized scholar, teacher, consultant, speaker, innovative strategic marketing, and a lot more. The list goes on. So I'll have him talk more about it. Thank you.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So I'm glad you didn't say last but not the least, because I am last and I am the least. So, it's been a long evening, so thank you for sticking with us till the end. So as I was thinking about, what to say, I realized that a lot of wisdom would have gone before me, and there would be very little left for me to say. So when I reflect on the topic of the contribution of Sikhs, I could not help but begin with the multifaceted contributions of Guru Nanak Dev Ji himself. As I reflect on what Sikhs have accomplished in the United States and in the world in general, every facet is actually embodied in what he did. Sikhs are entrepreneurs. Guru Nanak Dev Ji was an entrepreneur. He was an entrepreneur creating a dramatic, and what does an entrepreneur do? They are iconoclasts. They create new, they disrupt. And his was a very disruptive proclamation. We are teachers. I'm a teacher, I'm an academic. He was the teacher. He was our guru. I travel a lot. I think I travel. I just put 3 million miles on United. But he walked 28,000 kilometers. He was the first. I mean, if they had like, global services in those days, Guru Nanak Dev Ji would have been like the top traveler, because he's, and that was because it was important for him. Why do I travel? I travel because it's important to take the message and to be in front of audiences, to speak to people, and that's what he realized, that's what he did. I draw inspiration from that unless you go out there, people will not come to you. You have to take the message to them. Okay? We have human rights activists, like Jasjeet. He was a human rights activist. Gender equality of people, very radical beliefs. He was an ecologist. He talked about, we talk about the environment today. He talked about the environment and the need to respect nature and our natural resources. So actually I see a microcosm of everything that we accomplish is still that light. And it is also that spirit of Chardi Kala. Chardi is climbing. It's eternal optimism. Always stay positive. Because it has not been easy for Sikhs in the US. And now I'll tell you, again, Google tells the usual lies about Sikhs because actually nobody actually knows how many Sikhs there are. So just be clear about that. There is no census, there is no statistics, so we all use the same Google, but just like Dr. Google will make you ill, not everything you read on Wikipedia is accurate. So I'll forget about that. Let me start very, very personally about stories. So I came to this country exactly 30 years ago. And I've been blessed. This country has been very kind to me. And now I didn't come with $6 in my pocket. I came with maybe 60. But I did come with a gift, and that gift was education. And I'll tell you 3 or 4 stories about just my family because that I think gives you a microcosm of what it is like, both the opportunities and the challenges and the contributions. So when I first came here, the first thing I had to go was get a driver's license. I will not forget, I was at Wharton, so I went to Philadelphia DMV, and the queue was kind of going around the corner, so I couldn't see the official until I hear a booming voice say, "Will the guy with the condom on his head come around?" She was referring to me and my turban. So that's the DMV for you, anyway. And it was also, I still remember the day when I finished my PhD at Wharton and I was interviewing at Harvard Business School. They were all ready to make me the offer. And there was one Indian on the faculty, and one of the very distinguished faculty members said, everything's okay about him, he's brilliant, but what does he have to do with the extremists in California? By the way, I chose to turn down Harvard Business School. They made me the offer, and I turned them down because I refused to associate with faculty. And I've been at Northwestern for the past 26 years, so so it's not, life has not been a bed of roses, but at the same time, I think that you persevere and you accomplish and you just, you fight your way through. And I think now, every time, I am very conscious of the fact that whenever I stand before an audience or speak before people, just in the last week, I've spoken to 2,000 people, between Bangalore and Chennai and Hong Kong. And I carry this identity with me. I carry this, I'm an ambassador, and I recognize that. So I think that what we can do, in academia at least, is reach lots of audiences, and they at least start off a conversation. What is that thing around your head? I said, I make them myself, and I can sell them to you. So that's me. And then there's my brother, who also went to the IIT Delhi, and he came here with very little. And I'm so proud of him. I mean, he has founded 17 companies in 18 years. And he runs, right now 3 companies in Boston in medical devices, has created 2,000 jobs, $1 billion of wealth, holds 120 patents, and has been recognized by the White House as the America's choice in a model immigrant. So, or my cousin, who also came from IIT Delhi, also has founded 2 companies, employs 1,500 people. He's in New Jersey, But then, what I'm most proud of is my daughter, who grew up in this country, and my ex-wife was Christian and white, and so she didn't have any reference to her roots. But she has gone and discovered her roots, and she is now a scholar in Sikh studies. She speaks, writes fluent Farsi, and learned that herself, and has translated now Guru Nanak Dev Ji's Bani. I didn't know he wrote Farsi Shabads. So there's something about that spirit that sort of sits inside us, that inspires us, that makes us entrepreneurs, that makes us activists, that makes us, also makes us, in the macro sense, we may have achieved what we have achieved, but in the micro sense, every day we live in a way that was a spirit imparted to us by the Gurus. Service. It's actually amazing to me when I bring my Western friends in, and they're like, is the food free for everybody? And am I allowed? These thoughts never, think about it, these thoughts never occurred to us, that your faith will not allow you to enter into a place of worship. It actually becomes a bit of a culture shock to me when I go to other places of worship and I have to pay for food. And I have to pay for the darshan. And the more you pay, the closer you get to the idol. And I say the idol is within me, and there is no idol, and it's all free. So it's just so much a part of our fabric to believe in this equality, to believe in that everyone sits on the floor. The langar, the concept of seva, the concept of equality is just now part of our fabric. So it's important, there's a very important saying by Marshall McLuhan. He says, I don't know who invented water, but it probably wasn't a fish. So we are fish, for us this is water. But you know what, step outside yourself and see what the Guru has left for you. That spirit that he has left. So that is, I think, a gift, and that is in our own small ways in the contributions that we make. And as I add this all up, we're not many, right? We are not many. We're not many in India, we're not many in the United States. But let me tell you about the kind of contribution I think about. And it's just a weird analogy, I'm going to end with this analogy. I love to cook. And one of my favorite dishes, and if you ever come to my house, I'll make it for you, is my fish biryani. Right? So I have it down to a science. So when I make the biryani, the finishing touch on the biryani is that you take a few strands of kesar, saffron, put it in a little bit of warm milk, and then you sprinkle it over the biryani. It just magically transforms the whole thing. So that is our kesari spirit. We are the kesar. And the milk that we are imbued with is the spirit of Nanak. And we can make the whole biryani fragrant. So we may not be many, but our influence can be profound. Because that spirit that has been given to us is a gift that is rare, and it's a gift we must not waste. Thank you.
And for this wonderful rendition about Sikhs living and following the service and equality and the seva which are propounded by Guru Nanak, and the proud Kesari spirit that we all take pride in wearing and emulating and imbibing in our everyday life. We have very little time, although I wanted to ask at least 2 questions from each panelist. I'll restrict myself to 1, and I know audience have plenty of questions, which I'm sure you guys can ask once this session is over, and you'll have plenty of time to talk to the panelists later on. My first question will be to Dr. Singh, Manohar Singh. According to Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the education and spirituality, because you're an academician, my question has to be on education. So education and spirituality should inspire a man to dedicate his life and genius to the service of humanity. And Guruji's major emphasis is on education for self-realization and self-manifestation. How do you, as an academician, think that the current education system in the United States is imbibing the ideas of Guru Nanak Dev Ji?
am. Perfect. So you can see that I'm not an engineer. I'm not sure if I can agree with the statement that the American education system is really what Guru Nanak had in mind. I've been in this business for about 30 years and I'm on camera, please don't put it on YouTube. But we are very thoroughly capitalistic here. We think about next quarter earnings and we fire CEOs for not meeting the targets or the stock price goes down. We've also seen in state schools, for example, I've been at Penn State, California State, and then at Connecticut State, the funding for education has been the most significantly cut. While for other things it has not been, and we are expected to be financially sustainable institutions, business units, so to say. So I do believe that at some point of time, American education was very democratic, very accessible, very, very, very accommodative of the needs of the society, but the trend is other way around. And that's exactly why when I called upon you all to join together and create a Guru Nanak Dev University here, because I have seen, I'll give you a very little example of this. There was this young woman who came to my office at Penn State, and she was crying, and with tears in her eyes, she came to my office. She said, I have a complaint. I said, what's wrong? She said, my professor would not let me go to, would want me to go to the class. He is not allowing me to submit my assignment. I've already finished. And he says, you can only submit if you come to the class. I said, just like a judgmental Indian parent, I said, well, you're already here. Why can't you go to the class? Very insensitive of me because I had a privileged background. She said, she put her hand in her pocket and said, I have $3 in my pocket right now. Either I can have my lunch with this $3 or I can take the bus home to in the evening. So if I attend the class, I can't eat food because then I will have to go take a bus. Right now there's a friend who is willing to give me the ride. I have to choose between my lunch or the ride and the class. That was a revelation about 5, 6, 7 years back. That is the inequity. Guru Nanak did not really think that this is a model. His model was, it's egalitarian, everybody has access to this. And the American education, the way it is as of now, is not truly imbibing the values that we can. That's a challenge for us in academia. What can we do for the kids, the students, the young generation, so that they can earn a livelihood with dignity? And that's where Guru Nanak's philosophy, your charity, your contributions are needed, not just to the Sikh universities, Sikh scholarship, but to every other university, every other community college, every one of the education institutions. We are the best positioned as Sikhs to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sure the day is not far. The day is not far when we will indeed have a Guru Nanak University or a Sikh university for our kids here, where our needs can also be met and we can make a global appearance. My next question will be to Mayor Sidhu. Guru Nanak Dev Ji had propounded the idea of Kirat Karo Van Chako, which means earn an honest, pure and dedicated living by exercising one's own God-given skills and then share what you have earned with others. So you are a great example of public service. My question to you is, how have you brought out Guru Nanak Dev Ji's teachings in your life as you serve the community?
Thank you very much for asking that question, because as a Sikh and a mayor and serving the community of 360,000 people, and in my own city I have close to about 244 non-profits in my city. They all come and ask for help. And Vanke Chako is a very simple thing that we've all been taught as a Sikh we can share. Share your earnings. Ask yourself every day, how many of you do you really share your earnings? When I say about that is because I have 240 different, nonprofits. I sit on a board of about 20 of them. Every one of them asked me, can I put your name there? Because of your name, people will come. I say, sure you can. Because it is very difficult to depart your earnings from your pocket. If you're well-to-do, yes, you can share. And sharing is important. And that's what Guru Nanak Ji has always taught. If you can give the knowledge that you have, then the knowledge that I received from 15 or almost 17 years of being in political arena, I started asking our people and asking the people to come and I want to share my knowledge with you. So you can not make mistakes and improve yourself. If you want to be in the political world, I'll be there to help you. And the wisdom. And we all know that I have kids, and my daughter is sitting right here. Wisdom comes with time and age. I'm sitting here today. I have a wisdom that I earned, or it took me a long time to get a little bit wiser because I made many mistakes in my life. I can share that wisdom every day. And I do that wisdom that I share, that people don't make those mistakes in their life so they can get ahead of themselves. And the learning, what I learned from what I always see from Guru Nanak Ji's teaching was, agar kisi da tusa pala karna hai na, give them the best advice that they can do better than what you have done in your life. Otherwise, don't give them that advice. And this is what I live every day, and the skills. My father taught me skills at the very early age of being a contractor, whether it's electrical, whether it is being a plumber, whether it is electrician. I learned it because he knew all that. He was an engineer all his life. The skill that I learned from him, I'm passing on to my people who working in the city of Anaheim. People who come to ask me, what can you do to help us? I said, I'm an engineer, I have that knowledge and skill, I can help you. I can help make a decision for you what is good for the city, what is good for the people. And at the same time, at the end, I'll say, if someone comes for help in your life, open your arms, because God does not give everybody a chance to say, we are here to help you. He does not. He only asks people that who has given a heart who can help. So I ask every one of you that if you can take some of the teachings and a political leader, I see this every day in my life. I see homeless people. They're crying. They need to get out of the, living in the cold and rainy weather. It only took me 2 weeks to have the public partnership to spend. My city reserved $5 million, which nobody had ever done that in the last 10 years. It just took a little bit of what Guru Nanak Ji teaches. Sarvata pala. Agar kisi nu thoda hand de sakte ho, thoda ja help kar sakte ho, help them. And that's why, I'm a politician of a different kind. I'm here to help people, to serve the people. And you all can do service in a many different ways. Take care of your older parents. Take care of your kids. If you can help in a political world, go help some needy in a hospital who needs help. I see people all the time when I go to hospital, older people, pushing these wheelchairs from some of these people who need help. They're all seniors who are there to help. We can all do that. And that's what Guru Nanak Ji has given us, that tool at the very early age. Do not discriminate. For him, he said, every one of us are equal. We are born equal. There is no difference between man and woman or any gender. So this is what I see as a politician sitting there. When I make decisions, I do not wear color lenses. To me, people come and ask for decision making, and I make the best decision. I might not make everybody happy in life, but I tell you what, if I can turn one person and turn around his life, which is upside down, I think I have done my responsibility that God has given me a power to make a difference. That's how I look at as a service, as a politician, as a mankind help that we all live in today. And we live in the most beautiful country in the world where God has given us everything of life. But just loosen up your pocket a little bit. Not in just the gurdwaras, but to go outside your way to help what Jasjit Singh Ji and the CELDAF is trying to promote where the Sikhs should be recognized of this country. People should know who we are. I would tell you what, a lot of people still, if you go to Midwest or some of these places, people don't know them. Give the contribution, give the help. That's all it's going to take. It's going to be a political motivation from our side to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so very much for such wonderful insights. I myself have two more panelists that I'm dying to ask questions for, but we are running short of time, and I know you guys have a lot of questions too. So we would like to conclude the session here, but the floor will be open after it's concluded. We can still go and ask the panelists questions that we have after I have asked mine. So thank you very much for being such a wonderful gathering and being here and listening to us and our wonderful panelists. So thank you so much for being here and for the insights on Sikhism and the contributions in the United States.
Thank you. Bole Sonia! Thank you.
Please join me in a big round of applause for this wonderful panel. I would now request the Deputy Chief of Mission, Ambassador Amit Kumar, to kindly step forward and present bouquets as tokens of appreciation to each of the speakers and the moderator. Dr. Manohar Singh, Dean of School of Graduate and Professional Studies, Southern Connecticut State University. Professor Mohan Sahni, Kellogg School of Management. And Jasjit Singh, Senior Director, US India Business Council. And of course, the moderator who brought it all together, Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Chawla, Founder Director, Indian Language Services from California. Could you kindly come in front of the dais to have a photo with the DCM, please? Thank you so much. I will now request the Deputy Chief of Mission, Ambassador Amit Kumar, to kindly deliver the concluding remarks for this wonderful event.
Good evening to all of you here. I think we have listened to some really wonderful discussions today at this event, and I think on behalf of the embassy, we are very pleased to have hosted this event, which has brought together so many distinguished speakers in two panels. For me, of course, it was both a humbling experience to listen to life stories of so many eminent members from the Sikh diaspora here, and of course, it's quite evident from these discussions the themes that Guru Nanak Dev Ji has espoused almost 550 years ago has certain universality and timelessness to them, and he was quite clearly ahead of his times. He talked about equality among all, his emphasis on pluralism, on balance between enjoyment and knowledge, getting rid of the orthodoxies and ritualism of the time, promoting self-awareness, emphasis on service to humanity. I think all these things are values that apply today for all of us to imbibe. if we look to panel 1, I think the issue of preservation of Sikh art and its propagation using different imageries, including contemporary ones. I think Professor Taylor, who unfortunately is not here now, and Ms. Sonia Dhami, who have done some pioneering work in that field. I would also like to thank Dr. Nikki Guninder Kaur Singh, who I think brought an infectious energy to the panel discussion, and has of course brought out a new book on Guru Nanak Dev Ji, as she characterized it as a biography, which she has herself translated from the Guru Bani. Turning to panel 2, I think again the discussions were very interesting in how panelists related their life experiences, how they took in the teachings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji through their life journeys. And while one may dispute the number of Sikhs in America, I don't think anybody can dispute the fact that they have punched well above their weight, as one of the panelists mentioned. Dr. Manohar Singh talked about the core spirit of Sikhism and how it should inspire other communities in the US. The issue of what he termed as sovereignty of perhaps personal space versus plurality, and how that there is no conflict. Mr. Jasjit Singh talked about these qualities of charitable activities that the Sikh community often engages in, their ability to speak truth to the powers that there may be. And Professor Mohan Swani, of course, I think reimagined Guru Nanak Dev Ji in rather innovative terms when he talked of him as an entrepreneur and human rights activist. I think it's important for the new generation to be able to relate to Guru Nanak Dev Ji in modern idioms and metaphors. So I think that was most interesting for me. Of course, Mayor Sidhu spoke of his journey from Amritsar to being mayor of Anaheim, a fairly diverse city of around 360,000 people. And I think, again, how he drew inspiration from teachings of Guru Nanak Dev Ji in his public work as he holds public office today. So I think I was listening here to all this wonderful conversation, and I think I have many things to take back for myself, and I hope I am speaking for the audience here. Before I conclude, I would also want to thank our two moderators, Dr. Gurdeep Kaur Chawla and Ms. Mirin Phool, for their excellent task, moderating the discussions and keeping time. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes today's program. Wishing you all once again a very happy Gurpurab. Nanak Naam Chaddi Kala Tere Baane Sarbat Da Pala. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.